it's good to stay alive, right? You don't want to die. So in the case of Colorado, you can fart and start a forest fire. So I roll over, I look like a walrus trying to hump off a rock. And I'm not exactly a set of car keys. I'm a pretty big dude. Because that thing leaked like the Iraqi Navy. The flint and steel, if you're going to be Jeremiah Johnson and start a fire with a flint and steel, I highly suggest you practice said task in multiple environments, starting with your backyard and some gasoline, because that ain't easy. My wife included, before we met, she got lost a couple times, and she can get lost in a phone booth. And I've done some pretty dumb things. I mean, I'm not going to church it up.
We strongly suggested that they call it the Gritty Film Tour. They opted for the Full Draw Film Tour, so...
Everybody makes mistakes. Breakfast of champions, Snickers, and Diet Dr. Pepper. Hello, all right. You're listening to the Gritty Bowman, home of gritty bow hunting films, interviews, tall tales, and a wee bit of manly boasting.
I'm South Cox, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowman.
And it went a little crazy that we got between this big boar, this dominant boar, and this sow, and he came at us.
Wow.
And we were looking for that broadside shot, but he's like going to barrel us over. And 99 guides in 100 would have filled him full of lead.
I was pulling the trigger, but the safety was on.
handle that? And just out of curiosity, with you guys guiding so much, how do you handle that with family and balancing relationships and stuff like that? You just don't have them, or do you like...
It looks like they're trying to figure that out still.
They should have prepped us for this.
And we don't have to go down that road.
Is your wife still here?
Yeah.
I'm the man in the house.
On this episode of Gritty Bowman, I and my hunting partner Anthony Spencer hang out with Alan Bolin and Spike Lewis of Bolin Lewis Outfitters. These guys specialize in hardcore backpacking hunts. They have been getting it done on Pope and Young sheep, goats, and bears for years. They hold records for some of the largest sheep taken in British Columbia. They talk to us about how to pack for these epic hunts, about costs, and about the proper level of fitness required. These guys are the real deal. They're super legit backcountry bow hunters extraordinaire. This podcast is full of hunting stories and tips and insight into outfitting. Alan and Spike gave us their Bolin Lewis backpacking gear list. This list is the result of years of backcountry hunting experience. Go to the show notes of this podcast on our website to see the gear list and connect with Bolin Lewis on Instagram and Facebook to see some amazing backcountry adventures.
If you like the show, please go to our website at grittybowman.com and subscribe to this podcast and tell your mates and pals about us. Do us a favour and please take a moment to leave us a rating or a review on iTunes or on our YouTube channel. Send your questions and podcast ideas to grittybowman@gmail.com. If you're listening to this on iTunes, you can see the video version of this podcast on our website at www.grittybowman.com.
Okay. All right, folks. Welcome to the Gritty Bowman podcast. We are here with Bolin Lewis Outfitters, and we're here with Spike Lewis here on the right, and Alan Bolin, and we just met. And I have seen you guys on Instagram because we have a mutual friend, Sean DeGray.
Okay.
And Sean told me you've got to meet these guys. You need to interview these guys. They've got they're just the guys to interview around hunting in Alaska, hunting in
British Columbia.
I was going to say. The territories.
It's all the same to us, Southerners.
Seriously.
Down here, right?
So I'm excited. We did a little offline chat just a minute ago, and we're going to get into some of this. Before we get started, though, how about you tell us a little bit about each of you, and we'll start with Lewis. Spike, you tell us about yourself, and we'll get into Alan and kind of how you guys got started. And
yeah, it's kind of neat. I guess grew up in British Columbia. Always wanted to be a guide.
And you're Canadian.
I am Canadian.
We heard that dirty secret earlier.
Just growing up, looking at magazines, wanted to get into hunting in the mountains. And my dad was a big hunter, but we didn't go on big backpacking trips or whatever. But it was always just a dream. So as I started to get my driver's license, high school, started to get out myself more like that, and then met a guy in college that guided in the Yukon. So I said, I got to go up with you this fall. So he got me a job with his outfit, and I mean, talking to some, old famous guys, Dave Coleman, McMillan River Outfitters, and just a legend, right? So I kind of got in there. That was 25 years ago. Been guiding ever since. A little bit more as a hobby because I owned another business, but I guess 13 years ago, sold my business. I went guiding for the fall for someone I normally wouldn't guide for, but when my business deal was done, the guy I normally guided for had filled all his spots because I said, I can't guide this fall. So I just went and got a job, and my first client was Alan.
Really?
And
wow.
I don't know if we had a great hunt. We did.
It wasn't weathered.
We just got to know each other, and it was crazy how much we had in common. Basically became one of my best friends very quickly. And, we were searching what are you going to do, Spike, with your life? And it just kind of led one thing to another. And a year later, we started Bolin Lewis. We found an area. And
a year later, is that what you said?
Yeah.
So that's about 12, 13 years ago?
Yes.
Yes. And Alan's brother, Dave, who's become one of my closest friends as well, he came on with us. And, yeah, we've been going ever since. So that's my story.
That's cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Alan.
Well, so I actually grew up in a non-hunting family. And as a kid, I don't know why, it just fascinated me. And I remember seeing this magazine that you could subscribe to called Outdoor Life. And I was 11 years old, and I took my own money and bought a 3-year subscription to Outdoor Life and read every issue cover to cover and became absolutely just obsessed with hunting.
Yeah.
And I bugged my dad to take me. I mean, he actually did take me out a couple, like 1 or 2 days.
And where were you? Where was this?
I grew up in Washington State.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I got kind of sucked into wrestling. I wrestled in high school and college, and when I finished college wrestling, I immediately went back to hunting, and it's an obsession, of course.
Yeah.
I love to hunt, and I'm huge. I hunt a ton on my own, with Bolin Lewis, it's become a dream come true, where it's become a business as well.
How did you 12, 13 years ago? I mean, we've talked about going to BC. We talked about doing what you did to meet Spike that first time. What got you to do it?
Yeah, so I just started looking on the internet actually, and started looking at different hunting opportunities, and I found this it was a mountain goat hunt, but it was a really low price, and I talked to the guy, and he didn't have a client that week, so he made me a fantastic deal, and it turned out to not be a great mountain goat hunt. We never saw a mountain goat. But, sometimes that's how it is in guiding. You get what you pay for.
Sure.
But the relationship, that came from that was huge.
For people watching this, how old were you when you did that? And, where were you at financially? Were you a rich man?
That's a great question. No. It was the first time I had ever spent money on a hunt.
Okay.
And it was like a $4,900 hunt, and it was a big deal.
And you were about how old?
I was 27.
So it's a lot of money, right?
27. It was huge, and my wife, of course, was involved in the decision. It was really, really big, but it was a dream of mine to go out and hunt that species.
Yeah.
That's now cool. We get to hunt them all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Put that money down, and then at that age too, and go do it.
Yeah.
That's a big.
It was a big step.
Yeah.
Before that, it was just local hunting, and I guess some guys get to the point where they want to make that step and try something outside of the state or whatever.
Yeah. And what was your when you came away from that? I mean, were you like, I got to go right back, or?
Oh yeah. Even not seeing a goat, to me, it's never really been about necessarily harvesting an animal. I love being in the mountains, the adventure, the chance, the dream of harvesting that animal.
When someone books a guide too, I mean, my uncle's a guide in Arizona, and when we talk about this, we've talked about this. When you go hunting, there's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
You're buying a chance. When you buy that tag to go hunt, moose in Idaho, you're buying a chance.
Yeah.
You're not buying a moose.
You're buying an opportunity for sure.
Spike, you surely, though, in your years of guiding even before that, you probably have some insight as to those clients who come thinking they're buying an animal versus those who.
Yeah, it is a tough part of the business. Like, it really is. And I sometimes, there's a lot of TV out there, and there's all sorts of expectations. We get guys from the bottom to the top, different expectations, and part of our job is to manage those expectations. And we've become very, very good in when we book a client, to set the expectation right, so that you have a successful hunt. Because if the expectations are out of line, you cannot have a successful hunt. And so I guess part of that is our job, to interview the client properly, to talk to them. What's your previous experience? What's your expectations on this hunt? And then just to set them straight. And then when you get people that come up with it in line with what you're offering, you're going to have a successful hunt, whether you harvest or not.
So is there a bit of a filtering process there when you're talking to these people, or does anybody who wants to come hunt with you hunt with you?
I think it's a little different now than it used to be. It's the same as starting any business. You would just do anything
Take them first.
Yeah, and as
we learn that there's certain people you shouldn't take on the hunt.
Yeah, there's red flags, I guess. You can kind of, but most people are. I think that's the best part of my job. Yeah. 98% of the people we deal with, I would love to go hang out with them again. They're friends. They're truly friends when they leave. So
cool.
So what's the Bolin Lewis resume look like? Like, what have you guys accomplished as a guide, as outfitter service?
Well, one of the things we really have focused on is archery hunting.
Yeah.
And that's just because the three of us, Spike, Dave, and myself, are huge archery hunters. And so we've drawn those guys toward us. Without question, we put more mountain goats in the Pope and Young record book than any outfitter in history. We take, believe it or not, I know this sounds crazy, but we take 60 or 70% archery hunters every year.
Wow.
Yeah, last year we went 18 for 19, and the 19th guy quit early. So, yeah, we do extremely well. Yeah.
Dang, man, that's pretty
cool.
sweet.
It's cool.
That's that's impressive.
Tell us about your area too. What is your area like?
We own so in British Columbia, the areas are they're segregated, so there's no competition. We don't compete with any other outfitters. It's an exclusive area. Now, residents of British Columbia can hunt wherever they want.
It's public land, but
yeah. But our area is very remote. Actually, some of the most remote country in our province, probably in the world left. I mean, it's truly remote.
Cool.
All float plane access.
That's what I was going to ask. How you getting in
and it's a large area for British Columbia, 4,000 square miles. I mean, relatively, we probably hunt 10% of it. 90% is just cannot be accessed.
Wow.
And we hunt it.
I don't know why, but
very lightly.
That just feels cool to know that there's that place that's not accessible.
Yeah. When you get in a plane and you're flying over and you see all the goats and you know you can't touch them, it is a cool feeling. It's
because
good,
there's
good
nowhere
for
to
management.
land.
There's nowhere to land. There's no old logging road pushed in that we can hike off of or whatever. So, I mean, and when we went searching for an area, I mean, we lucked out. I mean, we did some research, but we didn't really know what we were buying. So we feel fortunate. We have just the greatest goat area you could ask for. And logistically and other things, it just really suits us well.
But you guys don't just do goat.
No.
We actually have another area now, too. So that's the area we started with 13 years ago, but we bought a new area on the east slope of the Rocky Mountains as well. So that's given us more species. So on the coast, we have goats, black bears, and grizzly are the primary species. And then on our east slope area, we have grizzlies, black bears, of course, moose, elk, whitetail that we've added on as well.
Yeah.
So
branching out.
Dude, that's like everything.
Well,
is that east slope one? Is that a little less remote? Is it more?
It is.
Yeah. So you've got some vehicle access. Or
vehicle access. We still hunt it hard. We get off the roads and that, but it's a different style. But we wanted to expand species. Only so many people are going to come goat and bear hunting.
Yeah.
So you develop this reputation in your name, and we wanted to make better use of that and get some people back up hunting with us that love hunting with us. So yeah.
What does it take, for a guy like, I imagine if you guys are flying in, you're not, you're not hunting from a
plush.
Yeah,
camp.
I mean, is
we
it
thinking?
backpacking? I mean, what is it?
It's all backpacking.
It's all backpacking?
Yeah, it's all backpacking.
These are your coastal area.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Would that include the bear hunts?
No.
Those are down more on the shore.
Yeah,
on
we
the
run a
coast.
boat-based hunt, which is, I mean, that's pretty cushy compared to our backpack.
Yeah.
We run two extremes. We run one of the most physically demanding, rugged hunts in the world, and then we offer a few hunts that are some of the most, easygoing, best food you could have on a hunt. So it's very different.
So I'm interested in the backpacking one. Like, what we talk. We want to know, like, the gear a guy needs to do something like this, the fitness that he needs, and the money that he needs to pull it off. So can we get into that? Like,
Sure.
Tell us. Let's start with gear, and let us know, like, what is it that a guy needs to do a hunt like this?
So, yeah, we have a very detailed gear list that we provide all of our
It's our
clients.
favorite subject.
This thing is, 7 pages long of every single piece of gear we recommend.
Uh-huh.
We're pretty particular about things. We're never satisfied when it comes to gear. I mean, the two of us, like, we'll stay up all night long researching some new little piece of gear we found and be texting each other back and forth. Did you see this spec or this spec? We're always wanting to improve things. And it's rare, actually, that we get a piece of gear that we think, oh, this is perfect.
Yeah.
We always say, I wish I could change this or that. We're super specific about gear. Weight's really important, but durability is too. We've learned that lesson the hard way. Sometimes you carry something that's ultra, ultra light and it breaks down on you.
Then it's no good.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you should be able to, though, on excluding food for a 10-day hunt, you should easily be under 30 pounds on your pack.
Really?
If you do it right. Yeah, and that's a coastal hunt where
This
you're
is
going
a
to be dealing
client.
with tons
This
of weather.
is a client you're talking
Yes.
about.
Yes.
Is
Then you
your
add
pack going to
food.
be heavier than that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The outfitters.
You're
yeah.
carrying more stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what kinds of things are you carrying so that they don't have to?
I carry the tent, spotting scope, optics.
Stove.
The stove. Rope, some of the necessities we need. I'll try and help a bit with their food, but my pack is more in the 60-pound range, and their pack is, if they follow this, they're going to be in that 30. Put the food on, it'll be under 40 pounds, and that's real manageable for them.
So are most clients then, as they contact you starting from scratch, and you're telling them they're literally buying this whole list?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them are going to have some of it, and there's substitutions and stuff. We recommend what we personally carry, and a guy, it can get expensive if you go out and buy this stuff from scratch. The food is an interesting thing that a lot of guys don't do right. So we look at the calories per ounce. So I won't put anything in my pack unless it's 150 calories per ounce.
Okay.
And so you add that up at 1,600 calories, or at 1 pound of food, at 150 calories per ounce, you're dealing with 2,500 calories a day.
Yeah.
And so we actually prepare a Ziploc bag per day for our clients that has exactly that number of calories in it and it weighs about a pound. So
okay, you do the food for them. You've got that all locked away in those
it'd be a
Ziplocs.
disaster if we didn't have all that planned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do food, and we're per day, like 2 pounds a day.
Yeah, 2, sometimes 2.5.
But
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It is. We've gone with the super lightweight, but we also like food that's not freeze dried.
Yeah.
Well, and I wonder too. I mean, do you have difference though? And you get a 140-pound fit guy, or you got a 220-pound guy that's doing his best, but I mean that guy's probably going to take more food, right?
Well, even our individual guides, they all eat differently on the mountain. We got some guys that eat next to nothing, and other guys that pack a little more. But I think in this situation, if it was myself and Alan hunting together, I might take a little extra, but we're sharing the tent and so. But when we have to put that all on and we're trying to keep the hunter as light as they can, we are just strict by it.
So they just get to lose a little weight that week.
We lose weight. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I mean, a pound a day, that's some serious calories to weight ratio. I mean,
And I can tell you already, you guys are shaving, but you're at 150 an ounce, where we're usually just trying to beat 100.
Yeah.
100 calories per
ounce.
So
you need high fat.
Yeah.
High fat, fat has 9 calories per gram, and carbohydrates and protein have 4 calories per gram.
I think a lot of people are missing that boat.
Exactly.
me too.
When they're in the backcountry.
High fat.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's where we do. we do a lot of high fat, but I also throw a lot more protein in, I think, than most hunters do, because we're like trying to be fit and we do all this stuff and then we'll hunt for 3 weeks, come back and lose all these strength gains because we're just burning muscle.
Yeah.
And so over the last couple of years, we've added a lot more protein into our plans than we used to.
I've started carrying protein too, only in the last 3 years. So you'd find yourself over the course of a season going downhill, you know. And since I've started doing that, I can get to a point. I lose a little bit of weight, not a lot, and then I just maintain for the whole season.
Yeah.
So But
so what else then? What are the things you got on the gear list here that are?
Can people see this, or do you guys published, or do you?
We need to. Right now, we send it to our clients. We've talked about putting this on our website and actually in conjunction with some sort of message board where people can actually comment on each category, gear category we're recommending.
Yeah.
But we haven't quite gotten there yet. But if somebody contacts us, if they direct message us on Instagram or something, we'll mail them a copy of it.
Yeah.
Or
we could,
it's fine.
we could put it on the show notes of the podcast for people who listen to the podcast.
Sure.
And
that'd be fine.
Well, and what you don't need to read
detailed.
it, but are there some things in there that are highlighted in your mind over the years that guys are typically key pieces in there?
Well, I'm impressed already. Just the fact that you're talking about a finished pack around 30 pounds and then maybe 10 pounds for food.
Yep.
And how many days are we talking?
10 days.
That's
a 10-day
pretty impressive
backpack.
Yep.
So 30 pounds, I mean, we're pushing now that includes the weight of the pack too?
Yeah.
The whole thing?
Yeah. Well, that is
light.
The KUIU packs are under 5 pounds.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's not a lot there, and they're bomb-proof.
Well, let's get into some of what's in there.
Yeah, so we're pretty big on the KUIU gear. We've been using it for 4 years now, and the stuff is the layering systems and the waterproof rating on their rain gear is fantastic. It dries quickly. On the rain gear, we recommend the Chugach rain
That's
gear.
what you've got, huh? You've used that.
Dude, that stuff has just been bomb-proof. I mean, we used it in Prince of Wales. I've been in Prince of Wales hunting for 7 days of torrential downpour and stayed completely dry.
The stuff's amazing. It's great.
Before that, I've tried other stuff. And this year, I'm going to try some First Light and some other gear.
Good.
But I do the stuff. The rain gear was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It goes on.
The KUIU
Chugach.
rain gear.
I mean, when we first started this, I didn't wear one thing that was camel. Not one thing that was camel.
Because nobody made any.
There was I would go to my local mountaineering store, Gore-Tex, and it was
Mountain
all mixed
Hardware,
match.
Marmot. That's what we
North
wanted to wear.
Face.
Yep.
So this has been a neat evolution, and it's been fun.
Yeah.
And to
there's
be
a lot,
involved
too.
with
You
it.
got Sitka out there. You got some great companies out there.
Yeah, there's some
Absolutely.
great gear now.
But
gear
KUIU
towards
does have
hunters.
the ultra light. I mean, they really push.
Yeah.
It's funny, too, because I'll have somebody say, I mean, when you start dealing with ultra light, like even with a backpack, it can become more fragile, right?
Yep.
And so balancing that is tricky business.
Yeah, it is. And we really tested this stuff before we committed to it, especially with their backpack. Like, a jacket's one thing, but if our backpack breaks out there, like that just can't happen.
Well, the first version, we gave them a lot of feedback on it, and the latest version they launched is, it's
so what
unreal.
which one are you using right now?
The Icon Pro.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean,
it's not the ultralight. It's the
that one would work. It has a slightly the suspension isn't as integrated. The straps don't go all the way through. The straps aren't as rigid. The waist belt isn't as rigid. It works for a client. For a guide, no way. If you're going to eventually have a goat cape in there and be putting over 100 pounds in it, it's not the pack.
So what is the typical hunt ends in success? We've already talked about the pack weights. What's coming out? You guys packing everything? Client packing part of that?
Every client's a little different. Probably most of the time that way, but we do get clients that are. I mean, we get some clients that are really physically capable, and they'll help us out. They'll carry every bit as much as we're carrying, right?
So
they want the experience.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're doing whatever it takes. I mean, I've had to take 2 trips, but I mean, I've come out with 120 pounds. And, a lot of people say, I carried 180 pounds. you take a 120-pound pack, put it on the scale. I mean,
Yeah.
a true 120 pounds is a lot.
It's a lot.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we had a little experiment this year trying to pack up a boned elk and cape and head and all our gear in one trip between the two of us.
And
Between
how'd it
two
go?
of you.
A lot
Yeah.
of gear got littered down the mountain.
So we
as we went.
we loaded about, what was it, 200 pounds?
I think they were
Yeah,
over two.
we-
The best we could tell, they were over 200 pounds. But
Just
again,
a little bit over.
we're admitting
Stupidity.
the head fell off. Gear went off. My bow went off. we came back for it.
We carried it for 200 yards or 50 yards.
You know
When
what
we
you can
started.
do
Something like that.
We've packed moose out like that, but our country is like if you slip, I
Yeah.
mean, it's not the steepest go country, but if you slip, you're going to hurt. So
That's
you
what-
also got to be able to control yourself and scramble.
Sure.
So
That's
there's a
what we
limit.
realized too on the way out. We were in some straight
it
up
was straight,
vertical, and
yeah.
I was like, "This is dangerous." He's back behind me like
He was saying more than that.
Okay, I was complaining
hate
a little.
you.
Yeah, but then we started dropping stuff, and I think we got it down to like 100 and
It was still heavy, but
I don't know, 20,
Yeah.
30 pounds, and that was heavy, but
Yeah.
but it was doable.
But you can do it.
Yeah.
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 Anyway, so what else? We talked packs a little bit there.
So we've put some really good color into this as well, but
So-
we're pretty serious about some of the things. Like
So
you said,
you-
over the years, we've seen boots. People it could ruin your hunt, right?
Yeah.
Bringing the
Boots
wrong
are big.
So what do you like with boots? I love boots. So
You wanna see mine?
Let's talk boots. Yeah.
So these are Scarpas, full
Okay.
shank. I don't know if y'all can see them, but
Yep.
These
Get him
are-
on camera here.
This is what you hunt in.
yes, it's a
Okay.
full shank mountaineering boot.
Okay.
And I like the Scarpas a lot.
Yeah.
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 Now, does that change when you're not on this backpack hunt? You're hunting?
Oh yeah, yeah. If
You don't
I'm
need
hunting
those
off
if
the
you're-
road,
Yeah.
yeah, you're wearing
Yeah.
a light hiker.
Okay.
But a full shank mountaineering boot, when you're going where there's no trails and you have a pack on, you have to have full shank mountaineering boot. If I can combine things, so if I'm going where there's no trails and I don't have a pack, I'll wear my light hiker. Or if I'm going where I'm wearing a pack and there's a trail, light hiker. But you combine no trail and pack,
yeah.
mountaineering boot.
Spike,
Okay.
are you in the same camp there?
Yeah. You know what? Boots fit. It's hard to recommend
Yeah. Him
one
and I are
boot.
totally different
Yeah.
on boots.
So
The ones he likes, I don't like.
everybody's foot is different, so we just get 5-6 boots in that class. We put them out to people. We say you got to go try them all on because
Yeah.
the ones that I like, they're not going to fit
Sure.
you. But we're just basically looking for like you said, full shank.
Full shank
It's-
mountaineering
Yeah,
boot.
yeah. But
Okay.
I don't know if I should spread this, but
Go for it.
so what I do this last year, I got on Amazon and ordered $7,000 worth of boots, wore them all around my house for 3 weeks, and then returned
God.
everything except one.
the ones that fit.
Yeah,
And this is what you ended up with.
this is what I ended up with. So
Nothing wrong with that. You
Yeah,
have
I mean,
that's the Amazon.
that's
It is.
you
That's
know,
what it's for.
I
They-
think so.
And,
great.
and to me, that as a consumer, you have the opportunity to try them all on, see how they work, mail them
Yeah.
back if they don't.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one thing. It's so funny where we feel like if we order it online, we have this obligation to keep it or something.
Yeah.
But if you're at the store, you would try it on,
yeah,
you
you
know,
would. You're right.
and
You're right.
you'd try all 20 pair
You just
on.
got a
and-
3-week try on.
Well, I just hate to have all 300,000 people that download your podcast every month doing that, and then all of a sudden they,
New policy on Amazon. here.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to. Yeah.
It's
That's
hard.
funny.
It's hard for people that haven't been doing this for years and years. Like you grow up doing it, or you start at some point in your life backpacking. Like you guys, you would naturally learn to. We don't
Yeah.
need this. We don't
Yeah.
need that. So, and this has been an evolution because we were a lot more lax about it when we first started. And we were like, "Whoa, these guys are their hunts. They're not getting their money's worth out of their hunt if they bring the wrong gear."
Yeah.
Well, there's such a
safety.
Yeah,
comfort.
when you're carrying 30 pounds
Yeah.
or 40 pounds all day long, that's one thing. You start carrying 55, 65 pounds all day long, that's another.
Yeah.
70 pounds, that's another. I mean, it
Yeah.
really takes a toll.
Yeah.
If I had to give like some absolute advice
Yeah.
on the, like say the 4 most important things: rain gear, no cotton, pack, and boots.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are non-negotiable with the
Okay.
client.
Yeah.
Rain
What ab-
gear, no cotton, pack, and boots.
What
The
about
right stuff?
What about camera gear? Because that's where we get killed. We're right around 40 pounds right now, with everything in there. Then we throw camera gear and we're like 60, 65 pounds.
And that's tough because it's your business, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're trying to, well, now with, and us too,
and it's like,
social
we could
media.
ditch this camera, we could do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like carrying optics.
But you guys are tough enough.
That's what
Yeah.
we end up ditching gears. We go down the mountain. We're packing out.
But no,
We're dropping.
that's what
really
we
expensive-
decided.
I'm going to
though,
follow you guys sometime.
That's right. Somebody take a.
We were worried about half our
we
gear was
ditched
left
some
up
pretty
there. like-
expensive gear on the way down the mountain there.
But that to me though is something that they don't make the gear your spotting scope.
Yeah.
They don't really make it any lighter than what it is.
No, they don't. Those things are what they are, right? They've come to a point, and I don't see them getting
And that's
smaller
why
and better.
That's why I think it's so cool that companies like Kuiu and stuff are coming out with this lightweight stuff that you can.
Yeah.
There is a spot where
There
you
is.
can, but it's going to cost some money.
Yeah. Camera gear and that. There's been a lot of advancements in the last 10 years, but we're kind of getting there, right? Like,
Yeah.
how much lighter can they go and smaller and
Yeah.
maintain the quality?
Right.
So, yeah, those things have been. My spotting scope's weighed the same for the last 10 years, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
cut other stuff out.
Well, I'd be very curious to go through that whole list. We don't really have time on the podcast to go through it, but is there anything else on there that stands out to you?
what
that-
about sleep system? I wanted to ask you about that real quick. What do you guys?
I use a Kuiu bag.
Okay.
The big question for us, we're on the coast. It's crazy
wet.
wet. I think we get weathered in the tent for days at a time.
Yeah.
Pouring rain. So the big argument is, do you use down or synthetic, right? So I do use the down bag. I always have. I like the way it compresses. I like the weight of it. But you have to protect it. Like,
Yeah.
I use a lightweight bivy over
Yeah.
it. Some of the new downs now with the waterproofing
Right.
on it is awesome. I still personally, and it's just a personal thing, I don't trust it. So
I've made the leap. The
yeah, he
bivvy's
has.
gone.
I
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
With the
know.
down bag.
It's a mental thing. I can't get over it.
Well,
So
I put it through the washing machine and shake it out, and it's still all lofty. So
that's
Yeah.
true. I haven't
you
done
know,
that.
that
Really?
tells me it works.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I do that, and some of the sleeping pads now are awesome.
Yeah.
They're thicker, they're lighter.
What do you guys like to use?
I use a Thermarest. The
Like a Neo Air?
The Neo
Yeah.
Air. Yep, that's
It's
the
a good
one
one.
on there. I'm a side sleeper, so for years I had really, I'd get a sore shoulder and
Yeah.
I'd be rolling over. So
What about
that's really
a
helpful.
pillow kind of system?
Oh,
Yeah. I've started using one.
I think we're getting old. 'Cause,
Yeah.
Because I was
I
going
can't
to say,
go without
like,
a pillow anymore.
I
Yeah.
can't believe how good I sleep with a pillow. But
I
I don't want
bring
to
one.
bring a pillow just for a pillow.
But the inflatable ones, you've seen them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
they weigh ounces.
What pillows do you like?
I can't remember.
No, I think Sea to Summit one is the one we
Sea to
have in there.
Summit.
There's
That's what-
two
or is
or
it an
three different
X-Pad?
ones.
I use
Oh,
the
an
Sea to
X-Pad.
Summit,
Yeah.
but I like to stuff put it into
Down
a bag
vest or
and put my down vest kind of in there with it.
So I put
Right.
like my down vest or my jacket kind of
in
on
a
it.
little stuff sack inside and I get them all in the same bag, and then it just kind of creates a nice little. Because just the Sea to Summit by itself, I feel like I'm kind of sleeping on a rock a little bit.
I was telling my guide last year, I'm like, we're sitting here having this big in-depth conversation about our pillow, and I'm like, wait. We're getting old here. I used to just pull a rock up
Yeah.
and sleep on it, but if I'm not sleeping well, your body goes downhill.
It does.
So
Especially as you get older, I've realized that
Yeah.
sleep is a much greater priority than it used to be. Because we used to just, pop a pill, fall asleep, right,
Yeah.
or something like that. It's just not the same. And over time, just like not having protein day after day, your body's breaking down and you're not giving it what it needs. And the same thing with rest. And if I'm going to get only 6 hours, I need to make those 6 hours count, or 5 hours of sleep.
absolutely.
And I found that having a pillow just makes it easier, dude.
If Brian gets 5 hours sleep, we're all in trouble. He's,
I do. I'm a
gets
little cranky.
cranky.
So that's pretty cool. Okay, so anything else?
You want to talk rifles?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're
Because those are heavy.
Well, we're into lightweight rifles, and actually we're into short rifles. With the bush, walking through thick bush, you're always getting your barrel snagged. We've been using the Kimber Adirondack.
Yeah.
It's an 18-inch barrel. It's
Wow.
a killer little gun.
Well, that's
Killer
another
little gun.
advancement that's cut lots of weight off our pack.
How much does that weigh?
It's
I
I think
it-
4 pounds 13 ounces without the scope.
because I think my rifle was 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to carry, our rifles were 8-9 pounds.
Yeah.
So, we cut 4 pounds off our
huge.
back.
And you get a
Huge
caliber like a 308 is very efficient out of short barrels.
Sure.
It burns nearly all the powder. Now, you're shooting a 300 Win Mag, you're not going to want a short barrel.
Yeah.
But hunting goats and sheep, like you can go with a smaller caliber.
So you're not so concerned about the long distance, at least extreme distance
Being bow
range.
hunters,
I was gonna
we're
say.
not.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask that too. It's like, if you're comfortable and you're used to needing to get into bow range, a rifle with a short barrel's a luxury.
Well, the guy 200 yards is it's a cakewalk.
We can shave 800 yards off that 1,000-yard shot just by walking if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
totally.
and it's one thing. I'm not bashing on guys. It's one thing if that's what a guy's into and he likes the long
that's a
range. That's
sport.
not my game, but that's his game. But,
Yeah.
But the one thing I have never understood is the guy that's not like that, but the guy that says, "Well, yeah, I shot at 700 because I couldn't get any closer," and I'm like, I don't know that I've ever seen an animal at 700 and thought, "Well, I'm done."
Yeah,
as close as I can get.
My daughter was making that joke. One of my friends shot a deer at 700 yards, and we were in the truck, and she goes, and that's his sport. He wants to shoot that deer at 7 yards. That's cool. She goes, he couldn't get one step closer. Not one step closer. I'm like, no, you don't understand, honey. He wanted to shoot it from 700 yards.
Oh, that's funny.
That's great.
Okay, so rifles. What about bows? Do you guys have they have the new carbon bows and all that. I mean,
that's what we use. They're light. I don't know if I mean, it's just a tough bow, right?
The Hoyt Defiant, we're super excited about.
Yeah.
And what about, though, when you're talking to clients about proficiency? They're coming up on an archery hunt.
Yeah.
What are you telling them about shot angle?
I mean, they have to pass some proficiency tests before you drag their butts out there.
Unfortunately, no.
They should.
They got to own their shot. If that animal gets hit, it's theirs.
It's theirs.
Yeah.
So if a guy wants to take a 60, 70-yard bow shot, we're not one to judge a guy on his, ethics or shot selection, but he's got to own it.
So that's your policy or that's law?
No, that's our policy.
That's your policy.
Yeah.
You draw blood,
Yep.
you own it.
Hey,
Which means you could hunt the rest of the week for that animal or whatever.
That's right. Yeah, we'll keep working our butts off for that animal.
Yeah.
But most of our bow shots are 30 to 40 yards. And we take traditional guys who say we want a 20-yard shot, and we get them shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Extreme angles, though, I would guess.
Oh, yeah. We want – it's
big.
tough. We're if you come from back east, sometimes it's hard to practice those.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and get to know your rangefinder. We have the angle compensating rangefinders now. You have to be able to trust it. You have to be able to go out and you don't just pick it up, and I really think you have to mentally trust it. Yeah. You gotta get your level proper. You gotta trust your level.
Yeah.
So let me say something about the level. The first goat hunt I went on, the first goat hunt I went on where I saw goats, I drew back on this goat and I looked at my level and I said, "Oh, that's totally wrong. My sight must have gotten hit." And so I did what felt right, and I missed.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I started messing around with it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was so your mind just cannot see level when you're standing on something like that.
Yeah, especially on a side hill.
Yeah.
I talked to Aaron Snyder. We did a podcast earlier this year. Phil Mendoza went on this sheep hunt, a friend of Aaron's, and he was shooting. This is Colorado, and they're shooting like straight down. But he's taking
in long distance
50, 60-yard shots on some of these sheep. I mean, it's gnarly. And he missed a few times. And they went back. Tim Gillingham they got to talking, and he had the yardage right. But at those angles and using his rangefinder, the angle compensation doesn't work exactly the same.
It wasn't, it was too extreme for the angle compensation.
So when you're looking at those angles and those ranges, the rangefinder stops working at a certain point because the algorithm doesn't actually.
It would be great to look at the different brands and see if that's true with all of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gillingham said it's true for all of them.
Is that right?
He created a cut chart, and he put it.
We carried those for years.
That's what I carried, a cut chart. I had it.
Inclinometer.
And a clinometer.
Yeah.
And then they said, once you start ranging and getting those angles and stuff, you can figure out where your rangefinder's incorrect, right?
Yeah.
And use that to sort of get you closer. But that was an eye-opener because most guys, they can be shooting an extreme angle or they can be shooting a long distance, but you don't really have the opportunity to combine
Both.
both, or
Right.
most guys don't do both, and that's where the rangefinder goes
Yeah.
south.
Yeah.
There's nothing like taking out a 3D target and sticking it in a pile of rocks and taking a 45-degree angle shot at 70 yards to humble yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've done it, and
That's where they started to find out you could just, after you test it, you start to realize how far off things are, and then you can adjust.
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
there.
if you're practicing, you're going to get to know.
Yep.
Right? Get
But
comfortable
that was the
with it.
thing is they were talking about where do you find a spot where you can shoot 70 yards straight down?
Yeah, you got to go out of your way.
Yeah.
One thing we do, my brother and I, we have the same arrow setup. So we'll put one target up on top of the cliff and one on the bottom, and we'll shoot at each other like this, and we don't have to walk to get the arrows. That's nice. Yeah.
It's a little risky.
Working
I mean,
smarter.
I assume
Yeah,
you're a
you
little
know,
far
you-
out of
You're careful.
on a big boulder.
Don't do this at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
great.
Cool. So then, so guys, so you got this gear list. You tell them this is what we recommend. It sounds like we kind of touched on it briefly, but
Yeah.
from there, like fitness, what do you guys do when you get a guy and he's obviously not in shape for this?
Too late at that point.
Yeah. We get people that try to fake it.
Yeah.
And,
I don't know why
and-
you would do
well,
that.
they'll
man. It's
even
like-
talk
or
to
they're
you
just
about,
overconfident.
Yeah, they'll talk to you about that they've done this and that. Well, we say, guys, there's no faking it here, right?
Yeah.
We get you from the airplane, you're talking, but you got to go onto the mountain with the guide, and we're going to know right away. So
Yeah.
we do have a wide range of hunters. We got older guys. Money is something we were talking about. A lot of guys can't afford this until they're older, or they wait. They don't
Yeah.
make it a priority till they should have done it 10, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
but they come. So we ask everyone, they got to get in the best shape they can get in. That doesn't have to be as good a shape as I can get in or you can get in.
Right.
It's as good a shape as they can get in. And if they do that, their odds of success go way up.
Their odds of fun go way
Their
up.
odds of fun
that's
go
what it boils
way
down
up.
to,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, and
What are we dealing with? Typical mileage and elevation.
our country, the elevation, if I tell you, you're going to go, oh, that's nothing. But it's different. It's coastal bush and slippery
It's like
stuff.
Prince
So
of Wales elevation.
it is
Yeah.
2,000 feet, which I know around here, guys that go
It's
out.
wide open and you can walk anywhere you
Yeah,
want.
it's not. So,
No.
we're.
Are you really neck deep sometimes in
Oh,
bush
yeah.
and just
Oh, yeah.
pounding your way through it?
So we land at our lakes are 3,500 feet, and we're hunting goats between 3 and 4,500 feet. So,
So it's not really the elevation. You're not sucking wind. It's not the air's not so thin up there. That's the problem.
no,
It's slow and steady.
Yeah.
slow and steady. You don't cover the distance you would on a sheep hunt, but it's in some ways tougher than a sheep hunt. It's just completely different. The footing, people. I think that's what kills people. That's why the boots are so important. You take a step up and you slide a foot back, and that really beats people up. You have the right footwear and you're in shape, and I think it hurts all of us, and we're all tired, but being in shape means you go to bed and you wake up and your body's recovered
Do it
and you
again.
can go again.
Yeah. When a guy's so sore he can't even stand up the next day.
And it happens, and sometimes we have to call the airplane, and we've had guys that didn't take it seriously come up, asked us to call the airplane on day 2. We fly them out, they get home, it haunts them, they call back, they say we got to do it again, and you know what? They put in the time, and they have an awesome, successful hunt the second time around.
Yeah, you want to avoid that mistake, though.
Yeah.
To get in shape, people ask us what to do. I say there's nothing like the mountain.
Yeah.
If you've got a mountain to
mountain.
climb, there is nothing like it. Second best to that would be stadium stairs. So find a football stadium around your house and put your pack on and just go climb it for an hour, 3
Yeah.
nights a week. It's going to make a huge difference.
That's what Aaron Snyder does a lot of. They hit Red Rocks and some stuff in Colorado, and they climb stadium stairs when they can't go to an actual mountain.
Step mill at the gym.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's a lifestyle too. We've had so many clients that we meet at the show, and they do take it seriously. They lose 20 pounds. they all of a sudden, well, we haven't done this in years. We feel better.
Yeah.
And they make it a lifestyle, and,
Yeah.
and they're just like, we see them the next year, they look good, and they're like, wow, thanks a lot. That really kickstarted something for us,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
I think there's no substitute for when people talk about conditioning, getting in shape to go hunt elk, there's nothing that'll get you in shape for it more than actually getting in condition for it more than actually doing it.
There is.
And so if you can get on a mountain and you can do that, but like you said, there's stairs. I've heard guys I've talked to have climbed stairs in a building
Oh yeah.
and just getting the
When I'm staying in a hotel, they've got a workout room. Nope, I'm going to the fire stairs.
yeah
four flights up and down
Yeah.
for an hour. That's the workout.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to beat that for just
It is.
conditioning.
And it's tough. Some guys they can't find a hill, so they got to go find the stairs and the
Yeah.
stadiums. And even then, it doesn't replicate. But
Right.
they are more capable. And mental toughness, that's more important than anything else. Having the right expectations. And
That's so true.
just
Because it is slow and steady. If we get a guy up there, I mean, I hate to say this because I don't want to create a low expectation for it, but if a guy is up there and he's out of shape and he's mentally tough and he can just go slow and steady and stick with it and keep his head in the game,
Grind.
he has a very good
Yeah.
chance of being successful.
Yeah.
Cool. You guys
So-
trekking pole guys or not?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, we don't
People
have-
laughed at me.
Anytime I see someone without poles, I just think,
They're just missing the boat.
Yeah,
It's just
they're just-
efficient, and it's.
I mean, like poles. I love trekking poles. They're like my life.
I
I don't
have a
see
good
many
story.
mountain goats walking around on their back feet.
That's
not
right.
using their front feet.
Alan, I'm going to tell a story. So
Oh, that's
we
true,
bought
huh?
the business.
Yeah.
I'm reading. We're doing our research thing. I'm like, hiking poles. Start reading about how much weight it takes off your legs. So I got a set, and Alan came up for our first inaugural goat hunt of our area, and he's like, "What are you doing?" You
I think the
you
words
look
were
like a
granola cruncher, hippie.
all the rest.
Yeah.
By, I think day 2, we were. Can I borrow one of those? So we borrowed one. So we were like, okay, you're going to use them for an hour,
Yeah.
then I'm going to use them for an hour, and then we've always used them
Yeah.
ever since.
Guilty.
so.
You remember the Eagle caps we went? I had them.
yeah.
By the end, they had sticks.
Yeah.
I know. They're
Like,
awesome.
okay, this.
It's
In fact, I shudder to think what my knees would be like now
mhm.
if I hadn't been using them.
going downhill, uphill.
Downhill,
It doesn't.
yeah.
doesn't-
Especially in the downhills with a heavy load, I think.
Yeah,
that's
and there's
where they are.
there's some different tricks you can for
Extend
using
them.
them. Extend them when you're going downhill.
Yeah,
shorter when you're going uphill.
Sometimes I use one. Sometimes I put them on
Yeah.
my pack if it's too thick, but coming downhill always.
A great
glass off
great
of them.
company that makes a fantastic trekking pole and also supports our industry is Easton.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I have.
They're
Yeah, that's
fantastic.
what I
The
use.
locking system is rock
Yeah.
solid.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed too with some of these poles where they're like the REI brand. You get a 120-pound pack coming down the hill and you start to slip and you dig that pole and it just slides
Yeah.
down.
Well,
They
sometimes
just
you're
don't
trusting
lock.
them. That could be real dangerous
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If you actually trust it and it slips and you're
Right.
gonna go forward.
And
so.
when they're not dealing with, typically your REI guy has got his 30-pound pack. He's ultra
Yeah.
light, and he's not about to fall down the hill because he's got a 100-pound pack on, and so yeah, they don't always build those poles to take the weight and the load that I want them to be able to take.
Right.
Well, I'm glad we can say that in public now that we use that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so
It's
funny that
funny.
there
It's-
was that whole
There was for a while. I think it's going away now because everybody just knows.
Oh, you're a closet hiking pole user. I know it.
right. Yeah. No,
That's right.
there's that thing attached to it, like it's, for sissies or something, or granola people.
Yeah.
So, okay, so finance-wise, what does it take to go on a whole hunt with Bolin Lewis?
The mountain goat hunt, runs between 13 and 15,000. It's pretty much a market rate, maybe a tiny bit above market rate, but frankly, we're killing the biggest goats in the world and the highest success rate at the biggest goats in the world.
Yeah.
So if you look at, say, the Boone and Crockett record book, you look at that strip of coast there, that's where they come
That's
from.
where they come from.
You
Yeah.
know, and so and the numbers are really good there. So it justifies a little bit of a premium, but we're talking maybe a 10% premium to come
Yeah.
with us over another
Very
outfitter.
competitive. Then.
Yeah.
How does that take us across your scale? Then you've got bear hunts, you've got whitetail
Yeah.
hunts. I wouldn't-
Yeah, we got bear hunts that we run off of logging roads, like you typically think, glassing cut blocks that range from 3,900 for a couple guys to come up, to we have bear hunts that are $8,000 on our boat. They're pretty premium.
Luxury hunting.
Yeah, they're luxury hunts. Moose hunts are 8,500 range, and our goat hunts, and then we have a couple goat hunts we offer that are 18,000. Our late season heart of the rut hunts, we do a couple of those a year, and
Those are nice. You stay in town, warm bed,
Yeah.
warm meals,
Really?
and hunt them on the winter range.
yeah,
Really?
Nice.
yeah. So that's an interesting hunt. It's we get to look at a lot of goats instead of hiking around. We're driving ATV. We get to look at lots of goats. We shoot really big goats that time of the year.
We have our grizzlies too, and we have great black bears. We have good. All the animals are good. We don't hunt them if they're not good. We have some animals in our area we don't even hunt because they're not like high trophy quality.
Yeah.
But if I had to say the two that stand out are mountain goats and grizzlies.
Really?
The biggest grizzlies in the world. In both of our areas are. So residents have to draw tags to hunt Crown Land in BC. They're the two toughest draw odds in the entire province are the areas we hunt. So fantastic.
So tell me,
grizzlies.
are they coastal brown bears in one area and mountain grizzlies in the other? Explain that to me.
We have coastal grizzlies. So it's about 100 miles south of the line where they turn from brown bear to grizzly
Gotcha.
At the Alaska border. And those are coastal grizzlies. So they're
Okay.
giant, and they look just like a brown bear. They act just like a brown bear,
Really?
but they're classified by Boone and Crockett and Pope and Young as grizzlies.
Genetically, though, are they?
They're brown bears.
Yeah.
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 And then contrast that to your eastern.
It's sort of like your blacktail line.
It is.
Right.
It's just a line.
It's
It's
just
a
a
line.
line.
So the grizzlies on the east slope of the Rockies, in this particular area, are giants. Like the draw odds for residents are just they're extremely difficult. And the conservation on these bears is first and foremost.
Yeah.
They're very conservative in the numbers taken. There's hundreds of grizzlies in the area, and we harvest 2 a year in the one area, and on the coast we harvest 1 a year.
Really?
So it's great for the bear populations. They're going to be there forever. It's a legacy for.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, like, I'm starting to become like this bear hunting addict. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
aren't we
really.
all?
I'm at first I just wanted to hunt antler game. That was it, and then I've been bear hunting, and now I'm starting to like. I want to hunt bear more than I do want to hunt elk. So.
That's crazy.
What's
But-
wrong with me? But seriously, for you guys being out there and doing it all, which species is the most is the most fun for you, most exciting?
I guess for me, the reason we bought this area, the first one, is because we loved being in the mountains. So, frankly, we couldn't afford a stone cheap area. What's going to get us into the mountains? Mountain goat.
Yeah.
Now we've seen the popularity of mountain goats increase like 3 or
Dramatically.
4-fold.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I love being in the mountains, but I think on a pure adrenaline basis, archery hunting a grizzly, there's nothing like it.
Do you have
when
a
you're on that
preference for those?
stock, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Do you have a preference for that eastern slope versus the coastal?
The bears are definitely more aggressive on the east
eastern
slope.
yeah.
I think it's a food. There's lots of salmon. There is a ton of food on the coast. They seem very passive. I've never had really an aggressive
Life's
bear.
easier.
Life's easier. You can be fishing and the bear comes out and they don't. But when we went into our new area on the east, it was an eye opener.
These things eat moose for a living.
Yeah. When we were stalking them, we had more close encounters on a bear that we took than I have in 10 years.
Bears
on the
walking up
coast.
to you 10 yards, and you scare them off. They wind you, see you,
And
they run
won't.
off, and they come back.
Yeah. It was,
Is this really happening?
That's a little. See, that's the thing with. That's the difference between hunting a coastal black bear and a grizzly.
Yeah, I want to go
a
on
brown
a
bear.
yeah. It is. It
I'll
is.
tell you the unique thing about bears,
Yeah.
and maybe this might help you indicate where your addiction's coming from, is, you kill a 300-inch elk and a 400-inch elk, and that body's going to be roughly the same size.
Yeah.
The bear, the trophy grows with the body. I mean, you know, all of a sudden these bears, you know, a 7.5-foot grizzly is a pretty nice bear. You put that next to a 9-foot grizzly, and my goodness,
they're different animals.
It's a monster. Just the girth and the muscle structure. They're awesome animals.
So we didn't talk cost. What are those coastal and east slope cost at?
We're around 27 if you harvest. We put a harvest.
It doesn't
fee on
matter
so
which. They're both about the same.
About
Coastal's
25 to 27.
No, that's a lot of money, but you got very few hunts. Is there a waiting list for that,
There
or is
is.
it?
Right
We're
now
sold
we have
out
one.
through 2019.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of that is not only the quality animals we've been harvesting, but our success with archery. There's not a lot. There's only actually a few guys that really are excited about taking archery guys on a grizzly hunt, and that's what we like to do. So
Yeah. Now I know up in Alaska they're baiting grizzly now, right? Or is
Yeah,
that
that's
true
true.
in BC too? Or
no baiting for blacks or grizzlies in,
Oh, okay.
in BC.
Okay.
How do your I've been getting a lot of questions from guys asking to do a podcast about how their significant other handles their absence. Guys handle that, and just out of curiosity, with you guys guiding so much, how do you handle that with family and balancing relationships and stuff like that? You just don't have them, or do you like?
It looks like they're trying
They
to
should
figure
have
that out
prepped
still.
us for this.
And we don't have to go down that road. I
Is
just
your wife still here?
Yeah.
I'm the man in the house.
You know,
As long as she's not around.
I'll say that my wife, you know, it's pretty cool because, you know, she is by no means a pushover. She's a very strong personality.
yeah.
But I'll say, hey, I would like to do this hunt. And she basically takes the attitude of, well, is this going to make you happy to go? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, then I want you to do it. You know?
Yeah.
She's really supportive
That's
that
kind
way.
of
That's how my
how
wife is.
our wives are too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing this before I met my wife, but I know lots of guys, they give their wife that line or their fiance, and it's all good, but then it's not good after.
Yeah.
My wife's incredible. I mean, she puts up with all our crap. My guide's crap laying around the house. We got hunters coming and going. Our schedule's all messed up. She runs her own business, and she's just but you know what? She's a strong, independent person, so she doesn't need me to entertain her. We do lots together, but she handles it well. I have to say, though, our oldest daughter's in her teenage years now, and I'm getting a lot more phone calls. And maybe you should come home. Maybe you need to come home. So,
How do they handle you hunting brown bears with a bow?
No.
yeah, Casey.
That was-
They don't know that.
You know what?
Oops.
I mean, we have a pretty neat story about a bear last spring, but it's life-size mounted down at our booth here, and
Oh, I got to check it out because you told us the story off air. I'd love to hear it again.
I think Alan's wife today and my wife last week at the show in Vegas, she came up and she said, "What are you doing?" You know, like
Was
she
that
goes,
like
I'm worried, right?
Seeing that?
Yeah.
Was it seeing it? That's
Yeah.
Well,
put it in reality.
Things kind of, you know, when you envision hunting a grizzly with a bow, what you picture is a bear out there feeding at 40 yards, and you sneak over a little bump,
Yeah.
and he doesn't see you, and you sneak that arrow into him, and he thinks a bee stung him.
Yes.
And
that's exactly
Runs off and dies.
that's what you want to believe
Yeah.
is going to happen.
yeah.
And
right.
Give
when,
us the reality.
When it goes down, it can go down in different ways. And
Yeah.
we had this experience this spring. So we bought this new area in the East Slope, and we tried to sell the hunt, and you know, people are like, well, you've never killed a bear there before. Just kill a bear before you. So we decided, well, let's go kill one. And guys, I can't even explain the amount of luck that went into this, but we ended up killing the new British Columbia archery record on our very first try in this area. But it went kind of crazy because
Somebody's wishing that they would have put the money down.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but there was a sow and a few boars all in the same area, and they were rutting, and it went a little crazy. And we got between this big boar, this dominant boar, and this sow, and he came at us.
Wow.
And we were looking for that broadside shot, but he's like gonna barrel us over. And I was at full draw, and Mike was manning the rifle, and we actually got this on GoPro. It's unbelievable, but I didn't want to shoot because his frontal shot coming at us, moving, his muzzle hanging in front of his chest. At one point it was a bullet or an arrow.
Yeah.
He was coming, And so I was able to sneak an arrow through the top of his heart, frontal shot, and he didn't stop. He kept coming right at us, and we were on this logging road, and we were on one side of it, and he ran by us at full speed 2 yards away.
Wow.
And you can see on the GoPro with Mike's rifle,
Wow.
when it's going down, you don't realize what's happening 'cause it's happening so fast. But afterwards, it was like we almost died, man. And I'm serious, because this bear,
Do you think that bear, that was its escape route, and so it just happened to go that way?
He still saw us, but he was
did
heading
see
that
it.
way anyway. But
Right.
we made eye contact. There's
Yeah.
he had a decision to make, and he made the right one for us.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was.
So
it
is
was
that
something.
where are people going to be able to see that?
I've seen it.
Is it already out?
I'm pretty
Pretty
sure I've seen
it's
it.
not. It's not out.
Oh,
No.
okay.
So
that's-
we're
I
going to
saw
edit
but
something.
The one you
It's a
described,
different
I
one.
was thinking I saw it, but when you described it, no, that's not
Okay.
the one I saw.
We're working on a deal to edit something on it. We want to do
Gotcha.
it the right way.
Yeah.
Were you taking video of the rest of the hunt?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
great
Okay,
video
okay.
that's
You know-
not GoPro.
That's a
Yeah.
whole nother subject. The grizzly bear hunting thing. We have to in what you guys do and what we do. We have to do it the right way, not
Yeah.
to harm our industry. We
Sure,
want to promote
sure. That's good.
grizzly hunting and do it the right way. So we're putting a lot of thought into it before we release something.
Yeah, I shot a bear on Prince of Wales Island, a big bear, and I posted, I shared it on Instagram and stuff and Facebook. And there's a lot of people who follow my stuff, but they're not hunters.
Yeah.
They're friends of mine,
Yeah.
some from high school, but that far back, right? And they see a post of me shooting a bear, and all of a sudden, those who had this respect for me that were like, he's not just a trophy hunter. He eats it, feeds his family with these hunts. All of a sudden I shoot a bear, and I am an evil man.
Yeah.
And
We've all had that.
yeah, and so absolutely, I realized I needed to do a little more discussion about that. And when they realized I was eating it, that was kind of a surprise. They were like, "What? You can eat bear? And how does it taste?" And we got into some more discussions, and we talked about on Prince of Wales and how they have a tag. It's not like you just walk out and just start shooting endangered species.
Yeah.
And that was a whole.
It's all
I
managed.
had no idea that there was actually a quota, and they issue only so many tags, and that only so many, and they monitor the bear on the island and make sure that the populations are all that stuff was like
Good for you.
all new. And so it's a chance to, when you share that stuff, people want to watch your film because it's intense.
Yeah.
But then if it's done right, you can share so much more that reaches people and does that education.
Yeah. And that's what we're aiming for. So that takes a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
for not just jumping into it.
Yeah.
Well, and you see that a lot today with social media, we killed this pig, and there's video of these dogs running it down and tearing it up while they go in with a knife and stab it. And it's like, I get that that's a form of primitive hunting and stuff, but for the non-hunter especially, and even for the hunter, that's
hard to understand.
really hard to understand. And I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong either, because I have a hard time with it. But as hunters, I agree with you.
Well,
That you got to be careful.
What we really have to realize, like it or not, it's the 80% of the people in the middle that don't really care that will decide our fate.
Sure.
Yeah.
As hunters and have the vote. So we have to kind of educate them, present it in the right way, because most of them aren't actually against hunting.
Yeah.
But if they're against stuff like that, or it portrays the wrong thing.
Yeah,
Right.
against
So,
perceptions they have of what hunting is.
So I mean, good for you for doing that, and we need more of that, and just education on the social media, because it's a whole new thing to us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the most inexpensive hunt you guys offer?
Black bear.
Or black
Black
bear.
bear.
Yeah.
More so than
Whitetail, same.
Tell me about the whitetails.
Wolf as well, same.
I want to hear about your whitetails. I've got a closet whitetail fascination.
You know what? We're all
We're not probably ready.
Yeah, we're all.
Last year's our first year.
Yeah.
Figuring it out. We took just a couple hunters. We're gonna take
Is
a couple
there
more this year.
Potential there for what? What's your initial
Yeah.
gut reaction?
There
to
was
potential?
in the past. It's produced some really big deer. I don't know what it's going to produce. We didn't see anything over 150-ish on our trail
So these
cameras.
are logged type areas.
Yeah.
So what's the
It like awesome archery stuff. In close, we are allowed to bait the deer there. So tree stand, really awesome Canadian wilderness type settings. But yeah, we're just being cautious with it till we really know what we're dealing with. But yeah.
cool?
One thing, speaking of social media, one thing that generated quite a bit of discussion was with Spike running the rifle with that grizzly charging us, why he didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
What came out of that? I mean, what did people say? Because you guys asked this question?
Well,
or did they ask it? Or
it was kind of mutual. Yeah. It's,
would
kind
you
of
pull
like,
the trigger in this situation?
and that's, I was blown away. Like, so this grizzly's coming at us 9 yards. We put an arrow in it, and he just keeps coming. And I thought for sure, in fact, I jumped out of the way and hid behind him because I thought for sure that rifle was going off. And expertly, and you can see it on the GoPro, he just follows it. And at one point, the bear looks at us and takes a step toward us at full charge and then steps away. And at that moment, I believe 99 guides in 100 would have filled him full of lead.
I was pulling the trigger, but the safety was on.
You heard it here, folks.
Yeah.
Rudy Bowman podcast.
That was right after you
We're
released
not
it.
rolling.
Yeah.
That's great.
Truth comes out.
I mean,
So would you
took
have had a different attitude if that had been a client instead of your partner?
I have really frank talks with our clients, with maybe with some, but most. If they're straight up with me and we know what we're dealing with, then I would have probably done the same thing.
Yeah.
I think if the guy got behind me, I think that I would have taken the initial stuff or all of it or whatever. But
why didn't you?
Well, the archery thing is real important to me. I mean, as a bow hunter, and I know Alan, and you don't want to do that unless you absolutely have to, right? So
Have you had to?
Yeah, I have had to.
Before?
I have.
What is
Only
it?
one time.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was it wasn't as much life threatening as it was just a bad shot. It was a poor shot. We knew it was a poor shot. It was shoulder blade, and it's just we can't have wounded grizzlies running around out there, so we had to make a decision. Tough to deal with after. It's hard for the hunter. It's hard for me. I don't like it. But in this situation, it happened really fast for one thing, and it was more a reaction. It happened really slow though.
It did.
I guess I was talking to I know quite a few hockey players and professional hockey players, and when you reach a level that everything slows down, I've been in a car accident too, and it just happened very slowly. This happened very slowly. Like I can remember seeing the arrow, I can see the blood coming out, like actually really coming out, so I knew it was a good hit. I remember the bear looking my way. I remember the steps he took. So when I watched the GoPro, I was like, that's not how it happened. It's too fast. But it happened slow enough in my mind, at least, that I was conscious about the decision. And it didn't really hit me until I saw the life-size mount.
I gotta go.
Then
see
it was
now.
it was standing, and
Yeah.
I kind of got down in the position I was at, and it spooked me a little. It really did, because I know if I would have shot him, I think he still would have got on me if he had turned. So yeah, that was
I remember seeing my first bear. I was in Prince of Wales Island, and I'd seen bears, but like Oregon bears, like big dogs bears, like this though was a big bear, like a 7x7, and they bring this bear in, like a 20-inch skull black bear, and he's in the back of this truck, and he's upside down, and they get him out and they winch him onto this table, and he's just massive. And I'm looking at this bear for the first time up close. I'm looking at the claws, I'm looking at the teeth, I'm looking at the size of this bear, and I'm like, that's legitimate. That is not like this little Oregon bear that I was picturing in my mind.
Yeah.
This was a huge
it can do
bear.
some damage.
And at that point, I and that's not even a brown bear. That's not even a grizzly. And so, it shook me. Like, it made me have a lot more respect for him than I did before.
Yeah.
And my buddy who was with me this year went to Prince of Wales in 2015. Same thing happened to him. He kind of was like, bears, whatever. When we shot our bear, and he
track his
in the bush.
Yep.
forever, like a day and a half, and we find this bear, and he's like, oh, this is what they look like here. And at that point, he's like, yeah, I'm afraid of bears. You know, like before this, I wasn't. Now that I've actually seen one, and it's sort of like the life-size thing, I'm really, really anxious to go see it. But when you see it like that, you have a whole nother respect, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting that way. Just the respect. It's just respect, right?
Yeah.
I've had more confrontations with black bears than I have with grizzlies.
That's what I've heard too. I've heard that can be the case. I wanted to ask you though more about what did other people say about Spike not pulling the trigger?
Most say I would have pulled the trigger in a second, but these aren't necessarily guides. They're just people in social media. You know.
Did you get any criticism from fellow guides saying
no? Everybody thinks it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Lots of compliments.
They're just all. People are pretty amazed with the bear, and it's a neat thing to talk about.
Yeah. It's very cool-handed of him.
Yeah, and I don't know. It happened. Like, would it? If you did that 10 times, would it happen like that 10 times? I don't know. It just seemed right at the time. So,
we'll have to get some video of that, and we can add it to the.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, when you guys get it done, of the life-size bear.
The mount.
Yeah, we should.
People can see what they're talking about.
We should go film a little bit of that at your booth and then put it in.
It's pretty cool. So.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, I wanted to have folks. Where can they follow you guys? Like, you're on Instagram. I look at your stuff. That's pretty cool.
Best. Yeah.
What's your handle on Instagram?
Bolin Lewis.
Just at Bolin Lewis.
Yep.
And it's BOLENLEWIS.
Correct. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
And then are you guys on Facebook too? And
we have a Facebook account, but it probably gets 25% of the posts we put on Instagram. So
that's kind of how I've been more lately. Instagram's a nice medium for sharing your stuff, especially if you're a hunter. Yeah. Especially if you're in epic country and you're sharing like epic photographs.
That's right.
Yeah. The photos our guides bring in and that we bring in, they're all really cool original stuff, and it's really beautiful. So
our account isn't one where we just repost other people's stuff. It's everything there's ours.
Yeah.
So. That's neat.
Yeah.
And website?
BolinLewis.com.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, great. Thanks for coming on.
Really great talking with you.
All right, let's do it again sometime.
Anytime.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, Gritty friends, I hope you enjoyed that podcast. If you did, please take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes, Podbean, or Stitcher. We love reading your reviews. And connect with us on social media if you're on there. Look us up on Facebook and Instagram, and take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can receive notifications when we upload new videos. We've got a sweet deal with Mountain Ops. You get 20% off on all Mountain Ops supplements, combo packs, and apparel when you type in the word gritty at checkout. If you're a hardcore elk hunter, or you want to be, go to the Elk 101 website online and check them out. Our friend Corey Jacobson is killing it with some of the best elk hunting information and entertainment on the web. If you haven't heard, we're doing a huge gear giveaway to try and grow and expand the gritty community on Facebook and Instagram. I asked a bunch of friends to pitch in on this gear giveaway, and they all came through with some awesome stuff. Our friends at Kifaru, Rockslide, First Light, Phelps Game Calls, One Shot Gear, Mountain Ops, Triple X Archery, Blacktail Outdoors, and Is It September Yet are pitching in some sweet gear for the giveaway. We'll announce all the details in the next few weeks. All you have to do to be entered to win is like our Gritty Bowman Facebook page and follow us on Instagram. All right, friends, let me leave you with one other quote from Theodore Roosevelt, who said, "It behooves every man to remember that the work of the critic is of altogether secondary importance, and that, in the end, progress is accomplished by the man who does things." We all have a choice. We can be people who do things or people who criticize the work of others. It's pretty simple, really. Get out there and do your thing. Good luck on your hunts, and stay gritty.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to The Gritty Bowman.
Gritty Bowman.